Hey, lovely. So, it's autumn. I've got a very Cyndi Lauper, look going on. It's all a bit crazy. Matches the weather though. We've got Storm Amy blowing through here, and it's definitely got that vibe. Certainly giving me a bit of oomph in my hair. I guess you've already seen that me and the fella went off to York for a couple of days. We had a really fun time. Did the dungeons, went to Valhalla, caught the York Food Festival. Oh, but some of the food on there was divine. Boar burgers, boar pies. We had game pies, which were actually really well done. Currywurst, which is something I'd never seen. He got super excited about. I'd never heard of it. It was great. Took him to Valhalla. He really enjoyed going there. That's one of his new favourite spots. And we were testing out stuff on the bar. We found a new favourite, which was a little bit lethal. Went down the shambles, got something called a wizard cocktail. That was a little bit naughty as well. Got freshly made Turkish delights and all sorts off of there, but they had such a good selection. Caught some really interesting musicians, an awesome band as well. We had a really good time. Unfortunately, on the way home, I started to get pain in my leg and my back. Not unusual. I have injured my back previously, and I'm aware of a severed nerve in my leg from one of my previous surgeries. And sometimes when I've been on my feet a lot, I do overstrain it and it hurts. Fella looked at me and went, I think it's probably going to be your endometriosis. It's, And I went, no, I'll be fine. Next day, I'm in absolute agony, shaking in pain because it didn't die down. He was right. It got so bad that he wanted to call an ambulance because he was so concerned. Now, I have a bit of a thing about the medical community. No offence to you. I was raised by nurses, but after being in and out of hospitals and picked up by ambulances that many times, you kind of become a bit averse to them and you don't want to have them out, especially if you don't think it's necessary. But he was overly concerned. Now, this man's a tough love kind of guy. Normally it's, you'll be fine, just walk it off. Or just rest, it'll go away. He's not one for faffing unnecessarily. So for him to show real concern and say you might need to be seen by an ambulance crew, it showed that it was quite bad. I refused, he respected that. And the next morning I promised to contact my GP, which I did. My GP unfortunately didn't get back to me till very late in the day, and I know I wasn't an urgent case, which I totally respect, but I was in such a bad way I could barely move around a room without feeling faint. Little bit dangerous by this stage. So the doctor said, I will put you on tranexamic acid. Anyone who knows what that's for, you know how bad it was. So the only problem was, because of how faint I was, we now had a difficulty of me getting the medication. My pharmacy is not on even the road I live on. I couldn't get there independently. And my fella was just going, well, I can't take the day off work, but you can't wait another 24 hours. I was willing to wait another 24 hours. He was so concerned. He was like, no, I'm going to get my parents to help you. Bless them. And they did, and I was extremely grateful, if not slightly embarrassed that I couldn't do it myself. I am a little bit stubborn, and I am quite independent when I want to be. And for me to feel like I needed someone to help me was a little bit much. But we did it, and I got back, and I was under strict instructions to go and rest. I was on the phone with my son after taking my first dose. I started to feel a bit drowsy. And I said to him, I'm so sorry, I've got to cut the call. I really need to go lie down. And I texted my fella. I said, look, I'm feeling a bit faint, so if I don't answer, it's just because I'm sleeping off this medication. So for about an hour and a half, woke up, I'm quite revived. Yeah, it turns out I really needed that medication to slow things down and to stop me getting worse. I hadn't quite clocked how bad it was. I was being stubborn, and he was correct in the fact that it was quite bad. So, finally got that under control, which has been a relief. Unfortunately, because of how and when it happened and how severely it happened, I haven't started doing my miles towards raising money for refuge because obviously I've been kind of immobile. Refuge, obviously, as many of you know, I've stayed in refuge and I know the important work that gets done, and that without donations it's a hell of a lot harder for those places to operate and provide what they need to for residents, whether it's clothing, shoes, uniforms for children, food, toiletries, sanitary products, you name it. So obviously I want to be well enough to do it, and I'm now recovering, but I do have to take it a little bit slow so as not to overdo it and put myself back in agony. I also unfortunately missed my dance class. I've been going to dance class for the past 2 months, which I really enjoy. My father encouraged me to go. He knew I'd been wanting to go for a couple of years and that I'd never gotten around to it, and I kind of talked myself out of it a couple of times. And I really love going, and unfortunately, again, due to how bad I was, I couldn't get the energy, and it would have been a bit dangerous. So I will be gladly going back on Monday, and I'm looking forward to it, but it has severely knocked my health out of whack. But we shall recover, and we shall continue to fight on. Unfortunately, yesterday, as I'm recovering from all this, I had to go to a kind of meeting regarding my homelessness, which isn't necessarily a problem. I asked my support worker to join me, just so that she knew what was going on with me, and we were supposed to get the opportunity to meet my homeless prevention officer, who has been rather hard to get hold of over the past couple of months, not just to me but to my support worker, and he was supposed to be present yesterday. And during this little presentation that went on, one gentleman came over and said, "Do you see a housing officer?" And I said, "Well, I don't know what he looks like." And I gave his name, and he said, "Oh, he's not going to be here today." Right, okay. And then they asked me how I was getting on and if I was looking at privates, which I have been doing. I've done a viewing of a few places as well, one that was extremely unsuitable. And I just said that because I'm disabled, I'm on benefits, and the price range around here and most landlords' insurances won't allow someone of my standing. And at first they weren't going to pay attention to that. They didn't realise that my support worker was the person sitting next to me. And at first they were about to back down what I just said. And I said, "Well, I've been trying to get hold of my homeless prevention officer to ask for advice, or any landlord that's known to you guys that it's not so unwilling." I said, "And I'm not getting any response, not via phone call or email." And then I said, "And neither's my support worker, and you can ask her." And only then was it taken seriously, where they took down my name and my support worker's name and my homeless prevention officer's details and said that there'd be a group meeting. Yeah, it takes until you have to go to these things and say, "Yeah, it's not just me, my support worker can't get hold of you either, and we are trying." I feel for people who don't get that kind of help, who may not have a support worker, and you're still not being listened to. And you know, my facilities, I want to be safe and secure somewhere, and where I live, I have no fridge, no microwave, no cooking facilities, no laundry facilities, and I'm paying for storage for my belongings. And it's costing me a freaking fortune. I'd rather to put it into a home. But I'm hitting these walls. And when I went down there, and when I've been asking for help or guidance or anything to make this be sorted before Christmas was my hope, I don't think that's going to happen there. And I'm being told that I'm not doing enough, which is not the case. But we shall soldier on, and hopefully we'll get some results. Either way, I hope everybody's well and looked after, maybe doing your own little adventures. But take care, lovelies. I will catch you all again soon. I'll keep you up to date if I ever get somewhere with this housing or my health.